Welcome back everybody, my name is Nick930 and this is my final review for Call of Duty World War II. World War II is the first game in the franchise to feature a World War II setting in nearly 10 years, and it's a return to form for a franchise that has been strongly scrutinized this console generation. The game's story is brilliantly done, with great performances, good writing, excellent battle sequences, some unique gameplay designs, and a polished experience overall. The game's zombie and multiplayer modes also deliver excellent experiences that feel more grounded than the past couple of games, something that longtime fans will greatly appreciate. So let's take a look at what the game's single player has to offer. Call of Duty World War II's campaign is excellent. You play as Private Daniels, a young man from Texas that signs up to make his older brother proud. The story is narrated by Daniels in between missions with letters written back home, and are often reflections of what happened at the various battles. Right from the start, we're introduced to various characters in Daniel's squad, who appear throughout the story and all look and feel incredibly believable. There's several scenes that help to humanize these characters, including downtime before and after battles that helps paint a more realistic picture of what these battles were like. It reminds me a lot of Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers. A lot of the game's campaign features depictions of real battles, including the D-Day invasion at Omaha Beach, the Battle of the Bulge, and the liberation of Paris. They're all incredibly intense and some of the most visceral and disturbing depictions of war ever shown in a video game. There's 11 missions in the game's campaign, each taking about 30 minutes or so, and you can complete the campaign within 5 to 6 hours, but it never felt like it was actually that short. The story was well written, and the conflict between the members of the squad was an interesting dynamic to explore. Now for the gameplay, there's no real point in going into detail about what we already know. This is a Call of Duty game, so it plays like every other Call of Duty game. But I do want to talk about all the changes that have been made to the game's single player and how it plays differently. First up, the health. Call of Duty World War II's single player does not feature health regeneration, and instead has a classic health bar. The only way to fill this health bar is by using health kits that you can either find on the battlefield or request from a nearby medic in your squad. This medic has an infinite supply of medkits, but there's a cooldown after requesting one. This feature isn't limited to just medkits though. There's also squad mates that will throw you ammunition, more grenades, and can even spot enemies, allowing you to slow down time and take out multiple enemies quickly. These features are entirely optional, and I found myself only requesting ammo and health when necessary. I also only played on regular difficulty mode, so it's possible that harder difficulties will make these abilities less useful. The game also features quick-time events occasionally that require you to either mash a button or awkwardly move a button prompt into the center of a circle and then press the button. I often wasn't ready for these quick-time events, and they didn't really seem necessary. The game's campaign also features a few stealth segments that function a lot like the stealth in the new Wolfenstein game, with an Iron Cross logo appearing over enemies and filling up the longer you stand out in the open. One of the coolest stealth segments in the game has you infiltrating undercover in a Nazi base, requiring you to memorize your cover story and use it to bypass security. It's an inventive sequence and doesn't overstay its welcome either. You can also find various collectibles hidden around in every mission, and also complete heroic events. Heroic events are either scripted or random occurrences that happen throughout the events of every mission that require you to make a choice or act quickly to save your comrades. You can save an allied soldier from a close quarter fight or drag friends to safety. You can even hold Nazis at gunpoint and demand surrender rather than just mowing them all down. There's a few segments throughout the game that have you controlling vehicles like jeeps, tanks, and even planes. These segments are okay, but the controls feel a bit awkward. Thankfully, these sections are generally short and don't take up the entire campaign missions. The campaign does everything right and is one of the best campaigns in a Call of Duty game in years. Now onto the multiplayer component. Call of Duty World War II features both a cooperative zombie survival mode and a competitive player versus player mode. The game's PvP is basically unchanged from what the Call of Duty franchise has featured in their multiplayer before. You'll rank up, earn unlock tokens, unlock various classes and weapons, and achieve killstreak rewards like bomber planes, artillery, and care packages. The game features 8 maps, all of which are much smaller than the typical Call of Duty multiplayer maps, but they feel fairly balanced and I rarely felt like I was getting spawn camped or stuck into corners. New to Call of Duty World War II is the War game mode, which feels like it borrows heavily from Battlefield 1's Operations mode. War mode has 3 different maps to choose from, one of which is the D-Day landing itself, which is a lot of fun. In War, the attacking team needs to accomplish a series of objectives to win with limited time, while the defenders simply need to stop them. It works great, and the maps, while small, still feel like large-scale battles. All of these game modes can be played online with players or offline with bots if you aren't interested in the competitive atmosphere. Also new to Call of Duty World War II is the headquarters area. In the HQ, you can explore an allied staging area with a third-person perspective much like the tower in the Destiny games. You can speak to various NPCs to accept assignments and challenges or open random loot drops for cosmetic items. There's a firing range that lets you practice alongside other random players, and a score streak practice area that lets you try out any of the game's score streaks on a large group of enemy bots. There's also a cool 1v1 battle arena that you can fight other players in while other players are watching. The headquarters at first seemed like an odd addition, but it seems to work really well with the game's design, and I'd love to see it implemented in future Call of Duty games. World War II also features a zombie mode that plays just like past zombie modes, but with a greater focus on horror. Whenever a zombie appears on screen suddenly, a music horror sting will play as if you were a victim of a jump scare, and it works really well. The music also gets more intense when there's a large group of zombies on screen. There's some unique zombie types as you progress through the waves, and there's a few new abilities to equip like armor. From what I've played, it feels pretty straightforward, but I can definitely see it getting more complex if you plan on completing various Easter eggs. Finally, let's talk about the game's performance and visual quality. Call of Duty World War II runs beautifully on modern hardware and is the best looking game in the franchise so far. The game characters' faces all look incredibly realistic, and the game's environments are highly detailed and fully realized. The beaches of Normandy are soaked red with blood, and the game doesn't shy away from showing some really brutal and gory scenes that pay respect to the true horrors that these men faced. The game's sound design is also excellent, with weapons like the bar and the Thompson submachine gun all having a really heavy bass sound to them that makes them feel very powerful and lethal. It's a solid experience all throughout, with no noticeable bugs or glitches and flawless performance in all three game modes. Also, PC gamers will be happy to hear that unlike the past few Call of Duty games, this game allows for an unlocked frame rate, allowing for a much smoother experience, and there is an FOV slider for those of you that want to extend your field of view. This is an excellent PC port, and the only thing missing is a server browser for the online component. Call of Duty World War II is an excellent addition to the franchise, and I certainly hope we see more Call of Duty games like this in the future. I'd love to see them explore different fronts of World War II again, with the attention and care that they gave this game, but unfortunately the community has already begun bashing this game due to franchise fatigue. If you're looking for a good shooter game this season, you'd be hard-pressed to find one better than Call of Duty World War II. I hope this video was helpful, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe for more reviews posted every week.